So the population of the world will very soon start shrinking, unavoidably so. And the question is, isn't that actually a good thing? No, it's most definitely not, and I'll explain why. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. Before I go on, I want to remind you that you have the channel with a ton of content, videos on different topics. You also have my books, Street Survival Skills, Surviving the Economic Collapse. Street Survival Skills is the practical aspect of preparedness, self-defense, and all of these practical skills you definitely want to develop. And Surviving the Economic Collapse regarding my experience going through such a thing in Argentina. And all of this is very useful for what's going on already and what's unavoidably gonna happen to all of us. So let's get right to this. And I want to suggest this video from this channel, Upton. Japan's population is heading to 0. Well, isn't that a good thing? Let's listen to what he says.
To walk through these streets because you don't see anybody, you don't hear any cars, you don't see anything, and most of the places have just been closed.
Way more people are dying in this country than being born.
A country that is closing up kindergartens and housing cares are increasing.
And if nothing changes, Japan could eventually just not exist.
Okay, so look it up. Good channel. Actually, I like his content, especially this video was very good. I see now he has another one about South Korea going through the same thing. It says it needs babies, as the title of the video. A couple of things. Isn't it good? No. And I actually had this conversation with my own brother. I was talking with him about this, and he said, well, it's great that we'll have less people. We have too many people. No. So it's a very common thing. A couple of things before we go on. First is, when has it ever been good to go extinct? Oh, no, but we're talking about a shrinking. No. We're talking about going extinct. If we cannot sustain, as it is as of this moment, you don't have fertility rate of 2.1, you cannot sustain the population, it will just start shrinking until it disappears. Oh, but then we can change. Really? You really think that you will just switch a button and you'll convince women these days and men to get into a long-time commitment and have at the very least 2 children each of them? You really think you'll achieve that just by what? Regulation? Forcing them? Forced pregnancies? How the hell do you plan on convincing all of these women that don't want to have kids, all of these guys that don't want to assume the responsibility, all of these guys and women that have been told that life is too short, just go enjoy, don't have the responsibility of having a kid? You're going to be changing all of that? So we're talking about something that, if kept in that same trend, we will just disappear. That on itself should tell you that it's not really good. It's not a good thing to start going extinct. Even if you think that at first we just reduce the amount of people that we have, that sounds good. Also, there's the factor to keep in mind that as it's not really a natural thing, when has it ever been that any creature does not want to reproduce? That's one of the very first mandates you have as a living being. If you refuse that, you're not talking about just humans, people, you're talking about every damn living being has that mandate. Reproduce so as to not die as a species. And if that's not enough, just think about who's promoting the agenda against this. Who's promoting the agenda against babies, against families, against having kids? Who is in charge of the overpopulation agenda on the UN? Who was at the forefront of the Malthusian attitude of let's just get rid of the people that we don't like? And if you think about it, really, doesn't it really make a whole lot of sense? Instead of having a massive war, extermination of the people you don't like, just convince them to exterminate themselves. What could be better than that? Once you convince people that they should just stop living and not reproduce anymore, that's just making the job a whole lot easier. But more to this point of, and I'll roll this on the back because he has some nice footage of empty schools. One of the more telling things, they had like a school, there was like 4 levels of school because many of them have closed, but some of the schools are still open. They just have 2 floors for kids. The other 2 floors are for elder citizens, are for activities and so on. You're replacing babies with old dying people. That's never good. But going specifically into why isn't it good to have a shrinking population? Well, it doesn't shrink in a natural, organic way. You're looking at this, and by natural, organic way, in nature, what happens? Like a predator comes and eats an entire family. Okay, you have others that are still going on. No, here is just a will to cease to exist, and therefore you stop having babies, and what you have more is older people. That's why population is still growing. People are still living more than ever, but at the same time, you're having less babies. This means that it's not just shrinking, it's shrinking in a way that you have a massive amount of old people. Old people are very nice. Old, grandmas and grandpas are all very nice and all, but they're not contributing a whole lot to the economy, to society. They're not at the forefront of any innovation either. So you have massive amounts of issues in terms of human progress and, new technologies being discovered, new achievements, new things that we need so as to carry on. You're losing a lot of that with an aging population. Old people don't really work as much. Old people don't spend nearly as much either. It's usually the younger people that will manage to push the economy, go spend, do stuff, have a projected life. When you're old, it's kind of like, yeah, we're just waiting here. We're doing our thing. You have a massive deficit of people being capable of doing manual labor. This is happening right now in Japan. All of these things, you already have countries going through it. Watch this guy's video. Watch this guy's video on South Korea, and you'll see how this will affect. Oh, but I'm just concerned about these immigrants coming, these legal immigrants coming. You know why you even have the massive amount of inflow of people? Do you even know why it's being allowed by your own government? Because that's the only way in which you offset the lack of fertility that you have in your own country. When you have a fertility rate of the United States is 1.6, 1.7, it's just not enough. So it's important to bring what? Yes, those people running across the border, those are usually not 70-year-olds. Those are usually kind of younger. And you may think, oh, yeah, but this is changing our culture to the worse. And yeah, sure, in many ways it is, no doubt whatsoever. Ideally, you would not have any of that. But it's important for you to understand that even if you don't like it, and I absolutely see why you don't, it's important for you to understand, why is it being allowed? They cannot tell you this. They cannot tell you that, yeah, we're letting these guys from Panama or Ecuador or whatever the hell they're coming from, we're just letting them across the border because you're not having enough kids. That's never gonna be said by any politician that is in TV. Doesn't matter who he is. Doesn't matter if he's a Republican. They will never admit to this obvious truth that I'm explaining you. And if you can do 2 + 2 = 4, you understand that I'm actually correct on this. So not only do you have an aging population, not only do you have a lack of, the economy being slowed down to a halt, you're also having a massive issue with your retirement. The retirement that you're enjoying right now, if you haven't retired already, good for you. If you're somewhat of my age, or forget about even younger, you will not get to see that because there's simply not enough people to sustain. As you probably know, the money that people get when they retire is not that's been saved up and given to. No, all of that's spent. You're being sustained for retirement is the people that are currently working right now. If you end up with 3 working people for each person that has to be supported, for everyone that has retired, you can only go down to a certain point. What is it? 2 people for each one? We will see a point in which you will have 1 guy in the workforce for every guy that has retired. It's just unsustainable. Everyone agrees with this. You just cannot support this. That just doesn't work. That is a massive fantasy. That is why they're raising the age of retirement. We saw that in the riots in France. Soon enough, it's going to get a lot worse. So if you think that a shrinking population is good, you're just absolutely wrong. You've been lied, most likely by the globalist elite that wants to depopulate the world for their own, messed up interests. They will be fine, as they usually are. They just want to have less peasants to be bothered with. And that's probably what this is all boiling down to. But if you think this is going to be good for you, for me, for the rest of us, for anyone that is not the elite that is pushing for this very specific agenda, all of this is not accidental. All of it. The different agendas they run, the idea of basically destroying the concept of family and motherhood and being a father and having kids and that being important, that being even sacred in a religious point. No, all of that is pointless. We even have videos of, is it even worth having kids? Of course not. Go enjoy your life, have another drink, go on holidays, buy some more crap, get drunk. That's the kind of people we want. That's the kind of consumers and slaves we want. But no, make no mistake. An aging population is not good. And even before you reach that point of reducing the global population, oh yeah, it would be great if we had like half the people. No, it would not. We would see economies crashing all over the world if that happens. But not only that, before you get to that point, and this is where we are already, aging population is a massive disaster. Watch what's happening in Japan. Watch what's happening in Korea. Watch what's happening in China. And that's what will happen to the rest of us very, very soon. It's happening already. Guys, see you on the next one. Take care.